Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar. IDEA StatiCa version 23 is coming out, and today we're going to check out what's new in this version. Let's start with the agenda. We will go through the highlights first, just look at the summary of all the improvements, and then we'll move through the steel, the concrete, the BIM links, and what's new in the cloud and licensing system. So the first slides is going to be about how version 23 is safer to use than ever before. So before it was not possible to check the inner longitudinal welds in a section, but now it is. And this has been verified by a technical university in Prague, and yeah, the verifications will be published very soon. So you can find that on the web page of IDEA StatiCa. Now you can have more details regarding the connection in the report. And reports does not longer auto-generate, so that's a great feature. I guess most of you had done that. You push the report button and then you have to wait for the report to generate. Maybe that was not the meaning. So now you have to push a button to generate the report in the report tab. So that's good. Yeah, and as said, there's also more information in the report that some users have missed before. The format of the check tables has changed and is easier to read now. A more clear explanation of the formulas represented there, and the tables in the report are nicer. So you can see there is better tables and more information here. Yeah, so range of validity. What's also connected to Eurocode is warnings of validity range. Now the analysis will be limited to the cases covered by the Eurocode. We have also implemented some material restrictions, so you will now get information in the corner of the model if this is the case for your connection. So you can see what it looks like after you have done analysis, if you get a warning and the materials or the anchors is outside of the definitions. Yeah, there is also news in the standoff anchors. A more precise check of anchors with standoff. Before, the calculation of the internal forces was done with formulas. Now the bending moment in the anchors is calculated by finite elements. So that leads to a more precise check. So that's good. And work plane position in members' local coordinate system. This also leads to much easier modeling. This has been a headache for some users for some time. Yeah, now a working plane can have its origin on a member or a plate. Much easier to put in the right place compared to before. So that makes it much easier to cut, for example, gusset plates in the correct angle if you want to do that. So yeah, the next few slides is also about improvements in the modeling. It's now more intuitive and faster. There has been a facelift in the manufacturing operations and also in the project item field. So you can see that if you want to change the analysis type, you can do that now in the project item field. So yeah, there's also a cross-section search box. So the cross-section library has been expanded, and you can now search for your cross-section instead of scrolling and looking for the correct one as we did in the previous version. There's also improvements with indexing the plates. This goes for the member application. Before there were some issues with the mismatch. Now it should be in the correct place. So there's also allowed to do cantilevered beams in member now. So that leads to better usability of the software. Yeah, there's also improvements in the member analysis safety. So yeah, you get warning when the program discovers when surface load is outside of member, and yeah, eccentricity of supports is now allowed, so that's very good. The next few slides is going to highlight how the analysis speed and precision is improved in version 23. So there's a huge difference. So we move towards safer site. Yeah, now it's the same measure as in detail. The changes is, yeah, when you have an open section, it will have more elements by default. So it's based on the research project done in member. Yeah, this new measure provides smoother transitions between coarse and fine mesh, more equally distributed. Previous, it was sometimes problems with the end plate and difference between plate created as an end plate operation or as a stiffening plate is now unified, so that's good. So you can see on the picture there, the plate on the right is meshed by the new measure. So it's more refined and better at finding the correct mesh. That may lead to a little bit slower calculation, but other things has been improved, so it should still go faster than before. This is one of the improvements that make the calculation time faster. So if you have a base plate that does not, well, it sticks out from the concrete, it will only mesh at the necessary area. So it will be faster calculating time for these types of connections. So yeah, redrawing of result in 3D scene is faster of about 20 to 25%. So that's better. So if we have a finer mesh and a faster calculation, that means more reliable results while keeping the performance. And now over to the new improvements in concrete. So stress peaks in concrete, yeah, they are a nightmare for every engineer. The peaks appear in the area of sharp corners, abruptly changed section area, etc. And in almost all cases, the stress limitation code check has been unsatisfactory due to the concentration of stresses in previous versions of detail. So the developers have come up with an enhanced option in detail, a limited stress check. So the user can neglect the stress at the singularity areas. The singularities that does not affect the bearing capacity of the structure. And this option is based on the Eurocode 1992-11 provision. So it's satisfied the code check presented in results and report. And long-term losses for SLS check. Pre-stressed beams and walls and other should be checked at the beginning and the end of the design work life due to changing the stress in the tendons and the time-dependent material properties of concrete. And due to this statement, the functionality long-term losses for SLS check have been added. The function works for pre- and post-tension tendons, and it leads to a reduction of combinations and less work for engineers. It's valid for SLS checks only, and long-term losses for ULS must be considered in the combination prescription. So, since version 23, the transition zone and linearly increasing stress at the beginning and the end of the pre-tension tendons is considered. It leads to a precise solution in the area before fully anchored tendon. So you are getting more reliable design and code checks. So you can see how it is in this representation. There's also a more realistic reinforcement layout. Concrete cover improvement, and yeah, generally when the beam element is modeled, concrete cover for longitudinal reinforcement can be calculated considering the biggest stirrup diameter. It means cover is measured from the stirrups and not from the longitudinal bars. The reinforcement layout is also closer to reality. Improved 3D rendering of reinforced rebars. Longitudinal rebars do not collide with stirrups as it did in version 22.1. Yeah, and in member there's now triangular mesh on section. So with the version 23 there will be a triangular mesh for cross sections, and that's implemented in the member application for concrete members. And the benefit with this is the precise stresses on the area are covered. Results are not sensitive on the mesh by default, and integration point on the end edge. So rough mesh causes the decreasing of calculation time and faster response. So we are getting more precise values with this improvement. Yeah, equivalent time for long-term deflection. So BIM application offers nonlinear long-term deflection calculation for all types of beams. To calculate the long-term deflection, the equivalent time representing the time when most of the permanent loads was applied has to be defined. This can be tricky for projects with many construction stages. Therefore, we have implemented optimized calculation of equivalent time based on the linear analysis results. For reinforced concrete beams, it's always considered that all permanent load was applied at 28 days. For pre-stressed beams, post-tensioned and pre-tensioned beams, equivalent time can be automatically calculated by clicking the button Auto, which is also new here. And probably many of you have been waiting for this. It's BIM Link with the Detail app. If you have a FEA software that can export in SAF format, then you can export geometry and materials of 2D members and openings. So that's great news. So the workflow is based on generating SAF format, uploading it to Checkbot, and then exporting it to Detail. So this is for the advanced users. So the developer mode is the enhanced functionality for users which would like to optimize and parameterize the model. The developer mode can be activated in the preference, part of the advanced settings. So the parameters can be used for all entities on the like sections, welds, bolts, and so on. So the users can use also the mathematical operations, where the syntax is published on our GitHub with all details. This is for the advanced users who would like to use this developers type tab. And this parameterization can make your life easier if you're interested in it. Load extreme selection. Since this new version, we have established the new algorithm for searching the critical combination. So the members undergo the loop of the interactions where the algorithm searching the combination of normal stress, shear stress, combination of normal and shear stresses. So you can get theoretically 18 extremes per one member due to combinations of the stress check. So the function is now implemented in the connection module, and the checkbot still uses the old algorithm. But in version 23.1 we might see that it changes. Yeah, last update for the BIM part is the unified algorithm for communicating between CAD and FEA models. So that has been developed. The export now accept and recognize geometry better, so that's very good for those of you who have gotten errors in that area. So local coordinate systems do not have to be the same when you export, and member order in the project no longer needs to be the same. So that makes it's much smoother, better communication between FEA and CAD models. Yeah, and there is a new web connection browser. There is a lot of new connections. There has been a facelift there and more connections. So you should check out that as well. And for the admins and the users who find interesting in monitoring the usage of the licensing, we have done some under the hood improvements to make the licensing system more seamless. So hopefully this will make the system more stable, and the issues with the licenses getting stuck will be handled better and more automatically. I believe some of you have struggled with that. But I want to mention that most cases where the license gets stuck, the user is using an old version. So maybe it's usually version 21 or older. Or maybe the user is using this keep products reserved checked, and that is on, and then that causes troubles. And if someone did not release the license after use, that can also lead to issues. Yeah, so the license admin can see what version of the user are using, and if keep products reserved are on or off. So that's a very good tool for the admins. So it looks like this for the admins in that case. Yeah, I just want to mention the next events coming up regarding version 23. There is a global user day with version 23 intro. It's May 4th, and you should check it out. It's on the StatiCa website. You can find it there. There is also a Strusoft joint webinar. It's especially for the FEM design users. Check that out. You can find it on StatiCa or the Strusoft website. So that concludes this webinar, and yeah, thank you and see you next time.